Have you ever wondered where giants like Superman and Spider-Man came from? It all goes back to a time we now call the Golden Age of comics. In the late 1930s, a little company called National Allied Publications, which would later become the legendary DC Comics, was born. And in 1939, they struck gold. A character from a doomed planet, with powers far beyond those of mortal men, landed on Earth. Superman. He wasn't just a hero, he was the first superhero, and he changed everything. Hot on his heels, in 1939, DC introduced a completely different kind of hero. A dark, mysterious vigilante prowling the streets of Gotham City. Batman. No superpowers, just skill, intellect, and an iron will. But they weren't the only ones in the game. Another publisher, Timely Comics, was making waves. You might know them better by their modern name, Marvel. During the height of World War II, as patriotism soared, they created a symbol of American strength and resolve, a super soldier punching Hitler right on the jaw. Captain America became an instant icon, a beacon of hope in a world at war. These characters weren't just ink on a page. They were legends in the making, laying the foundation for a universe of stories that would captivate generations. The Golden Age was a time of pure, uncomplicated heroism, a battle of good versus evil where the good guys always won. But as the world changed, so did its heroes. The bright, sunny days of the Golden Age were about to give way to a new era, one that would redefine what a superhero could be. As the 1950s rolled in, the initial excitement for superheroes started to fade. Tastes were changing, and sci-fi and horror comics were gaining popularity. But then, a flash of lightning revitalized the entire industry. In 1956, DC took a bold step. They reimagined one of their Golden Age heroes, The Flash, for a new generation. This wasn't the original Jay Garrick, but a new character named Barry Allen, a forensic scientist struck by lightning and chemicals. This single act sparked the Silver Age of comics. DC's strategy was to create clean-cut, aspirational figures. Heroes like the new Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, were paragons of virtue, almost like modern-day knights. They were archetypes, symbols of justice and order in a world that craved stability. Their stories were often fantastical, involving trips to other dimensions and battles with quirky, larger-than-life villains. They were gods among men, powerful and perfect. But over at Timely Comics, which had officially become Marvel, a creative revolution was brewing. A writer-editor named Stan Lee and a powerhouse artist named Jack Kirby decided to do something completely different. In 1961, they introduced the Fantastic Four. This wasn't your typical super team. They were a dysfunctional family, constantly arguing, plagued by self-doubt and personal problems. They gained their powers through a cosmic ray accident and viewed them as much a curse as a blessing. This was the birth of the Marvel Way. Soon after, Stan Lee and Steve Ditko created a character that would become the face of the company, Spider-Man. Peter Parker wasn't a billionaire or an alien. He was a nerdy, awkward teenager from Queens, struggling with homework, bullies, and paying the rent. He was relatable. He was us. Marvel's heroes were flawed, complex, and deeply human. The Hulk was a monster born of rage and fear. The X-Men were outcasts, hated and feared by the very people they swore to protect. This contrast was stark. While DC's heroes lived in fictional cities like Metropolis and Gotham, Marvel's heroes patrolled the real streets of New York City. This grounded approach, focusing on the person behind the mask, resonated powerfully with readers. The Silver Age wasn't just a battle between good and evil anymore. It was a clash of philosophies, a debate between the godlike ideals of DC and the flawed humanity of Marvel. By the time the 1970s arrived, the world had changed. The optimism of the Silver Age was replaced by a more cynical, questioning mood, and comics followed suit. This was the dawn of the Bronze Age, an era defined by a move towards darker, more realistic, and socially relevant storytelling. The clear-cut morality of the past started to blur into shades of gray. At DC, writers began tackling difficult subjects. Green Lantern and Green Arrow embarked on a famous road trip across America, confronting issues like racism, poverty, and drug abuse in a landmark storyline. This was a far cry from the cosmic adventures of the previous decade, but the most significant event of this era for DC was yet to come. By the mid-1980s, their 50 years of storytelling had created a tangled, confusing multiverse with multiple versions of their heroes. To clean things up, they launched a massive 12-issue series called Crisis on Infinite Earths. This wasn't just another story, it was an epic that destroyed their multiverse, killing off major characters like The Flash and Supergirl, and fundamentally rebooting their entire continuity. It was a bold, risky move that set the standard for every major comic book event that would follow. Marvel, meanwhile, was also exploring darker themes. The Punisher, a vigilante who brutally murdered criminals, gained immense popularity. Wolverine of the X-Men evolved from a gruff team member into a tormented anti-hero with a bloody past. Their stories became more complex and serialized. This trend towards darker, more mature narratives culminated in the modern age. Landmark works like DC's The Dark Knight Returns and Watchmen completely deconstructed the superhero genre, presenting heroes as flawed, psychologically complex, and even dangerous figures. These stories weren't for kids anymore. They were sophisticated literature that attracted a whole new adult audience. In the 2000s, Marvel mirrored DC's event-driven strategy with its own universe-shaking crossover, Civil War. This wasn't a battle against a supervillain, but a conflict of ideologies that pitted hero against hero, forcing Captain America and Iron Man to fight each other over the issue of government registration. It was a story that reflected the post-9/11 anxieties of its time, asking difficult questions about freedom versus security. From the social consciousness of the Bronze Age to the grim and gritty reality of the modern age, comics had grown up, proving they could be a powerful medium for exploring the most complex aspects of the human condition. The journey from simple newsprint to the silver screen has been nothing short of epic. What started as entertainment for children has morphed into a global cultural phenomenon. And at the heart of it all are two titans, DC and Marvel. Their influence extends far beyond the comic book shop. Think about it. How many times have you seen the bat signal in the sky or heard someone say, "With great power comes great responsibility"? These characters and their stories have become part of our shared cultural language. They are our modern mythology. The gods of Mount Olympus have been replaced by the heroes of Metropolis and the Avengers Tower. The impact on film and television has been monumental, starting with Richard Donner's Superman in 1978, which made us believe a man could fly, to Tim Burton's Gothic Batman. Superhero movies began to prove their blockbuster potential, but it was in the 21st century that everything exploded. Marvel Studios executed a plan of unprecedented ambition, creating the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Starting with Iron Man in 2008, they built an interconnected web of films that culminated in massive event movies like The Avengers and Endgame, shattering box office records and redefining event filmmaking. DC responded with its own cinematic universe, bringing characters like Wonder Woman and Aquaman to a new generation of fans on a grand scale. The rivalry that once played out on the pages of comics now unfolds on the global stage of Hollywood. But it's not just movies, television shows, video games, merchandise. Their logos are everywhere, from the philosophical questions posed in The Dark Knight to the sheer, crowd-pleasing spectacle. The MCU, DC and Marvel have proven that these stories about people in capes and masks are about so much more. They are about hope, responsibility, sacrifice, and the very best of what we can be. They are the legends of our time, and their story is still being written. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of comics, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more. Let me know in the comments who your favorite hero is, DC or Marvel. See you next time.